Are we going to have a repeat, or are we going to have a new map? Well, we'll bring it up for you. Accelerate will be starting on defense, as you can see by the orange around their picture. And Space Station will be starting on attack, as you can see from the blue around theirs. It'll be Oregon, so we will go 4 for 4 on different maps so far today.
I can live with that. Just interestingly enough, all of our 4 maps today have been base game maps.
That's true. No DLC maps today.
No coastline, no border.
Yeah, there you go. So these launched with the game. In case you're curious, what does base game mean? It means that they all launched with the game. DLC means downloadable content.
Even though everybody gets them for free. No matter if you have passes or not.
Correct.
Speaking of spending money, I don't know if you people have checked Twitter for Rainbow Six Siege, because the price pool for Six Invitational is still rising. And it hits a maximum level of $2 million, I think, which is, I know, you're struggling to understand it. $2 million, that's insane, which it is. It's a huge bit of prize pool to have, but the sales for all the invitational skins, the packs, the team skins as well, battle dress, skins for weapons, etc., all of those come back in investment in esports, Six Invitational events, and teams themselves to keep them in the running, to add on top of their income, just to be sure that they can continue to live out through Rainbow Six Siege. It's pretty huge. Make sure you buy all this stuff if you want to support the esports scene. This is just from us. We're not being told to do this. We're just telling you it would be nice if you did so, because I think we can all agree Rainbow Six Pro League has definitely been a big life changer for many people in the scene, including ourselves. And it would be nice if we can all keep going through it, and especially make our scene grow even larger.
I don't know if you mentioned the packs. I don't think you did. The new 6 Invitational packs that were just released. Yeah, so those ones, they said 30% of those go towards it.
It's huge.
So $2 million, and I think it's 40% goes to first place, and then the remaining 60% is divided. I think second place gets 60.
That's a lot of money that G2 is going to end up getting at the end.
It's a brave thing to say on a North American broadcast.
Let's be honest. It's really the broadcast to say it on.
But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the way that it breaks down, and if it does hit the 2 million prize pool, that would obviously be fascinating. And then the rest of the money that will spill over, if we break 2 million, will go towards a variety of other things, possible Pro League finals, major finals, etc. So that will be pretty interesting. I would be fascinated to get my hands on those numbers at some point. I think a lot of people would. But the promotional run for the 6 Invitational has brought a number of great things to the forefront. For those people that were unaware, on the weekend, you saw a new splash page when you started up the game. Of course, it was Clash and Maestro, arm wrestling. You also have the Road to the SI playlist. It's a casual, competitive playlist. And I say competitive because you play it, and it's pretty competitive.
So much better.
It evolves around the Pro League rule set, so you have pick and ban. It's 3 rounds on attack and then 3 rounds on defense, or vice versa, first to 4. There's 3 rounds of overtime. There's no kill cams, but the operator pick and ban is so great. And it's also Pro League only map pools, so no Hereford base,
no Night
Fortress,
Cafe!
No cafe. Well, I mean, to be fair, there's no night maps anymore.
But still.
There's no cafe in the day, which is cause for celebration.
I'll be happy with no cafe ever until it gets reworked one day.
So it's only on weekends. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can compete on the Road to the 6 Invitational playlist and play like a pro and actually get your hands on the real meat of this game. And it's running for the next 3 weekends all the way up to the 6 Invitational.
Yes.
And then
it will be live in, at least for us now, in 3 days and 11 hours.
Yeah.
And I have a timer on it because I want to play it as well.
Understandably.
I played a ton of it in the weekend, as I'm sure you have as well.
I've dabbled.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Just being able to not only do we just spectate and cast over how things work, and mostly a bit of a toned down level of how the settings work in professional play, which is fine. It is to get people in and understand how things go, but also to be able to play it, and you realize communication is so key in Rainbow Six, and the people that actually play in that playlist usually will communicate. And trust me, if you have not tried it, just do so. Play so with your friends if you can. And number 3, experience what Rainbow Six really is all about, because you can have as good of a professional environment as possible, but if you don't work together as a team and speak and communicate, then it is all for night. And that is what brings out Rainbow Six and makes it this beautiful game that we love and really cherish so much. And it is also a metaphor for real life. So work as a team and everything works. You know, a team that frags together, wins together. What is it? What were you saying before? You and Michael, you were on Villa, right?
It was, well, I said the team that drones together, and I couldn't figure it out, and somebody online said pones together. And it's the team that plays together, stays together. Well, I don't know. But
it is a pretty good metaphor. So, you know, learn that as well for your life. None of that, you know, slays stuff in real life. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But yes.
The great thing, too, about the Road to the SI playlist is also that it introduces a more casual market to the way that Pro League plays. And that's something that I'm actually really interested to see is if, or rather, I really hope that there's an infographic or a shareable that goes up at some point from Ubisoft, really delving into the meat behind this playlist. What operators were most commonly banned? I want to see what the casual...
each region, if possible.
And each region, if it's definitely doable. The casual community, how many people were playing this that are unranked? Because from my own personal experience, I saw quite a lot of people who did not have any ranks that were playing this playlist. And that's great, because you might be appealing to a section that doesn't necessarily tune into Pro League. And all of this works together to try as be like a marketing and advertising sort of vehicle, which I think is excellent for the game. So,
and especially for Six Invitational itself, because of course this is a lead up. 3 weeks before, you get to try this, and you're like, oh, Six Invitational's right around the corner. I really like this playlist. Oh, Six Invitational, the pros play in this way, just with more rounds. I'm gonna check it out, and bam, you're hooked, and that's how it works.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's great that we're having all this publicity over it. It's in stark contrast to last year.
Oh yes. I'm so happy that they're changing it.
It's great to see this game it's great to see that this game being promoted as much as this is. Now let's turn our attention into the SSG Excelerate game, because we're still waiting for every player to join the lobby. It's taking a little bit of time. We're going to Oregon. That map can be played in a lot of wonky ways.
Yeah.
Excelerate Gaming can play quite aggressively. They can play very unpredictably. Schlongy in particular, who received a heap of criticism for his support player role on Cloud9. He got dropped. He's now found a new life on Excelerate. He's played different roles. They will often have him working more aggressive roles. Yeah, sometimes working in tandem with Achieved on defense as well. And even though Achieved's prowess usually comes from his plays on attack, his plays on defense also help quite well. And Schlongy has been there to really help carry the weight, as long as he doesn't get picked off early. Very similar to what we saw from a man earlier today.
Oh, yes.
If Schlongy can survive those first 30 seconds, that's paramount. But on a map like Oregon, you have so many opportunities to do crazy things on Oregon. To peak unexpectedly, to to rotate in strange ways, to use your utility to try and maybe stack up in meeting hall, maybe offsite in tower, maybe command attic. There's lots of different ways to do that, and I think that'll really play to Accelerate's strengths.
Yeah, and they cannot be afraid of playing against SSG. Similar to what we saw today, for example, with Orglis playing against Dark Zero. Orglis at the start were very timid, and it cost them a few rounds. Well, that wasn't the case later on, and they were able to at least bring a few extra rounds back, right? Well, here it has to be said pretty much the same thing about EXG. You're playing against a really tough team, yes, but if you give your opponent too much respect to the point that you play passively, it's really going to hamper you, and it really will show specifically on the defense because of how things have changed for the defense. They haven't changed because of some big meta shift. It's just, first of all, you're allowed that extra ban because Maestro, well, Lion is just removed from play, which is great. So you can ban out a shield, for example, but out a Ying or any operator you just don't really want to deal with. It leaves you a bit more flexible. But because there's so many operators that allow you to get information on the defense, i.e. your Maestro, your Echo, bulletproof cameras, Black Eyes, etc., with Valkyrie, you can capitalize on that information and get kills off of it. And in this case, Accelerate having Schlongy, that you mentioned so specifically, might be able to capitalize on that and do those crazy plays that Xiangyi is so well known for, especially on the defense. And I would not be surprised if that is utilized in such a way.
For Space Station, they have had both Chala and Redeemer lag behind in terms of impacts on most games on the scoreboard, but that's because of the role swaps they've had and the impact that Rampy has had on the roster. Especially Bosco in particular coming in to be able to help support Rampy. Though Bosco was killing everything that he saw when he first made his debut around DreamHack Winter, it's really been Rampy who's been the rising star of the team and has absolutely set fire to the rest of it, allowing players such as Thinking Nate to be able to help clutch things out when need be. Now, Thinking Nate is going to be crucial, along with Redeemer on this map, because both of them will likely be staying anchored on site, on either a smoke or a Echo for Redeemer, or possibly even a Maestro for Redeemer.
If they're not banned.
It's going to be a challenge to Space Station to ensure that everybody is contributing in every possible way, round through round through round, because when Bosco and Rampy go quiet, the fortunes of the team tend to fall off. So, with that said, we have everybody in the lobby, and we will start on Oregon with Excelerate on defense. They will go with ban number 1. They're going to take Ying out of action.
Okay. You just don't want to deal with Ying. Completely fine. I'm seeing a lot of bans, specifically in Latin America, actually, the operator, but otherwise, it is a very logical thing. Maverick will also be removed from play. Space Station taking him off the board. So who's going to be the first defense? It's going to be Mute, possibly Mirna. Okay, so Space Station will remove that. So this way they can keep a potential of at least a Maestro or an Echo. One of those two should be allowed at the end. Depends on Accelerate who they'd like to remove, and they're going to remove Maestro. Makes a lot of sense when Redeemer is on the other side, but Maestro on his own is already a very strong operator. You put that in the hands of a player like Redeemer, and that site's going to be clear for so long. So you mentioned early on, who will Redeemer play? Probably going to be the Echo in this situation, though we have seen him change around every now and then. That's going to be for the defense later on in the second half. For now, SSG is turning off on the attack, and Bio be the operator or the player running the Echo in this situation. We'll start on Kitchen and Dining, of all places.
All right, well, that is certainly an interesting place as any to play on for the very first time. I wanted to speak on the Maestro ban, because it's a smart play by Accelerate. It doesn't really matter whether you're going to put Redeemer on Maestro or Echo. He is not as proficient on Echo as he is on Maestro currently. And I think some of that also speaks to the power that Maestro has behind him and what he can do when he frags well. Echo's MP5 suppressed it's a fine gun, but it's a pea shooter at long distances. It is aided by having an ACOG, but that's really about its largest selling point. It can be a headshot machine too, but you'd prefer to have the Alda if you had your option. The thing with Maestro is that in absence of Amira, you can basically shoot open a wall and put an Evil Eye cam, and then you'll be able to see long distances. And if you don't have Amira available to you, we've seen this on Coastline time and time again, a lot of teams will use Maestro as sort of a budget Mira to work around.
Actually, he probably is better. It's just the only difference is that the Mira window is you require a hard breacher to usually take care of it, but its main weakness is that it can't see through smokes. And for example, on Coastline and even here on Oregon, smokes are very powerful things. So you say budget Mira, but at the same time, from what we've seen a lot of times, especially with the fact that bulletproof cameras have seen that huge rise, it is very understandable that it's mostly here as well to deal with any smoke play. And guess what? Redeemer's playing Capitao. Capitao is seeing a lot of plays. Okay, Redeemer will just continue to drone on in, realizing there's nobody in the showers. It's a pretty good start here, and also in the tower. You have to watch out for any late game peaks. But relinquishing the showers when this is a kitchen defense, I have to question the decision. Oh, bulletproof camera. Okay, makes a lot of sense now. Okay, instead of having, for example, a smoke or a mute playing in this position with a shotgun, we're just going to use the camera to allow us to get that information. However, the frag grenade from Bosco should be the first thing he goes for to destroy such an important piece of utility, and indeed should hit. He destroyed his own drone. Okay.
Doesn't exactly know.
It did.
He got it.
There you go.
That's another reason that can help explain why Doc's pick rate is so high. And that's because, well, yeah, Doc's an ACOG, but a lot of times you don't necessarily need the impacts of Rook, and Rook's body armor might not be the most beneficial to the team, but the bulletproof camera that comes with Doc is infinitely more valuable, especially when Maestro is banned, because you know how to play around it. But a question here, Biologic using that Yokai drone as aggressively as he was. He could have kept it positioned in the bathroom, and then Bosco never would have seen it, but ultimately, it's one of the valuable tools at Biologic's side that is now going to be removed. Great angle from Bosco as he takes out Achieved. And the Doc will not be able to see that, nor recover from that, as we are now on the verge of this execute taking place. The wall has been opened up, and Bosco just walks right in, picks up his second kill, Chala down. That will also be the diffuser that will need to be retrieved, as Tomas fragging well with the ACOG. Biologic playing around the barricade will take out Bosco, and it will leave us in a 3v3. Plant is going down, and Biologic does not have any info at his advantage, so that's a very successful plant for Space Station. Tomas able to drop Rampy with the pistol. Redeemer doesn't have very much HP left, but it's a post-plant here. Thinking it executes Tomas, and Redeemer has tons of utility left. He's got both his asphyxiating bolts and his smokes when he needs them. But Schlongi will peek him, and that's Redeemer to take him down. Biologic creeping on up. Diffuser is just below half. He's given his position away, and that's an easy clutch for Redeemer. Redeem the dream. He'll take 2 kills. Doesn't need to use his asphyxiating bolts. Doesn't need to use his smokes at all. Not to obscure his teammate, nor cover up the plant. He clutches it out.
I play Capitao for the gun.
I'll take things nobody says for 400, Alex.
But guess what?
I mean, he did.
He did.
He did. That was just more that at some point those smokes definitely should have gone down to cover the plant.
Yes,
I don't know why they didn't. I imagine that it was probably because there was visible coverage that was happening.
Some mistiming maybe, or
Well,
because you had just someone, as you said.
Yeah, I think the visible coverage was deliberate.
Yeah.
So it's if you smoke it off, they can just blind fire through it. If there's a C4 on the board, they can just throw it through it. You know, so anywho, that's round number 1. A kitchen defense. You don't see that every day to start off your match.
Yeah.
But it was a good try from Excelerate, I gotta say. They ended up walking away with 3 kills. They narrowly managed to take it back after Bosco's rampage through the showers. He held the bottom of White Stairs. Could have possibly gone either way. Sometimes when you pull something out of your bag of tricks, it might work, it might take your opponent by surprise, completely bamboozle them. That wasn't the case on Kitchen.
All right. So again, this is the question, will EXG run Schlongi or anybody around him, especially seeing as Baya's running the Ella in the situation, even Crusher putting up signal. Ooh, okay.
Attackers have recovered
this is looking like a top floor defense. Might even put up 3 players on the top floor. I'm not sure if Crusher is going to reinforce anything. No, he just drops down. I think they're using the signal disruptors there as fakes, basically. It would disrupt a lot of the droning and not really give SSG any information to anybody up there. As you see, Accelerator actually setting up in the tower.
This is quite the play here from Excelerate right now. Just spread out all over. It's not uncommon for you to defend T2 or T3 when you're also trying to defend Laundry Supply Room. It's not that weird, all things considered. But the problem is that if Crusher gets spotted out early, or if Tomas gets spotted out early, depending on which the SAS is going to play in this tower, could end up really hurting Accelerate. Schlongi on Rome, by the way, in small tower, very far off the beat. He thought that he was going to be able to nab somebody from SSG as they repelled into tower, but he's now going to have to try to get back to site. But it's very easy for somebody from SSG to read into that and completely cut him off from getting back. And that could be an easy kill on Schlongi, where he wouldn't really provide much value for Accelerate at all. SSG have read into the defense that's being set up, though, and this is very certainly going to be a supply take. They're going to try to hit that bunker hard and fast and completely negate the defense that's centered around Laundry Room.
We're at 30 on the clock. That's a lot of time being burned off by Accelerate with no damage done. So only the attackers here forced to use whatever utility they need, really, to enter through, which fortunately for them is actually not a ton. Chala setting up, just chuck his stun grenades in the back, and burn any ADSs put by Schlongy, and the smoke will be forced out at the minute 5 mark. Bosco entering in finally. Big taken by Space.
Opening kill is going to go to Redeemer as he picks off Biologic. That was the Ella. Not too far off as Redeemer has a hold of the hallway. And you've got Thinking Nate and Bosco both upstairs on flank watch. You're only going to need 3 bodies for this Executor, so Space Station seems to think. Keep in mind there is only 1 Nitro Cell on the board in the hands of Crusher. It sounds like it might have actually detonated. There you go. Redeemer using his utility while Chala is there to take out Tomas. And this smoke will allow the plant to go down. Safely nestled in the common plant spot will be Chala's. Thinking Nate shreds through Schlongy, grabs a second on to achieve, and now Crusher will have a 1v5, but it's a perfect round for Space Station.
Wow.
As they control that entire bomb site, and nobody from Excelerate can respond. Also, much credit and praise to the flank watch upstairs, as SSG, like I said, doesn't lose a single body.
Very well done. Flank watch was basically all that they required at the end to close up the round and made things a lot easier, that's for sure. For Space Station, it all started with Redeemer getting the kill on the Ella, thinning out the defense for just a bit before the attack came in. And the instant that was set, they walked in. They were actually able to escape the clutches of the C4 that was chucked in from behind. And after that, going for the plant. And what does Redeemer do? Well, he uses his crossbow bolts
Attackers
this
need
round.
to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Very fair for Space Station as they take the round. They put 2 on the board, and now Accelerate will actually return to the basement third laundry. We'll see if they can hold it off in this 3rd round, or will SSG completely change the way that they play for this attack.
I would imagine that we're probably going to see Excelerate look more towards the supply room. That'd be my guess. And not have so many bodies offside. That for me was the big thing. Achieved and Schlongy were both playing nowhere near connected to the site. And when the execute happened, they did not get called back fast enough. I believe it was Schlongy that we saw inside a meeting hall. Just kind of desperately shooting in towards the rear stage, but Thinking Nate and Bosco were not particularly bothered by it. It's really difficult because I understand the thought process behind what Excelerate Gaming was doing. I understand why they had Schlongy playing over on small tower. If you know that there's going to be a tower take at some point, having somebody where Schlongy is yet again over on small tower, that can work out quite well. And Schlongy realized that he's getting the call and he's going to head on over to the window as Biologic giving lots of information. But some shots from the Hibana of Chala means that they are well aware of the position of Schlongy. So his cover has been blown. He has another doorway to go through here over on Kitchen. Possibly open it up. And there he goes. Oh, he sees one and he nets Bosco. A beautiful opening gambit from Excelerate. And Schlongy will take off the only set of grenades and that mighty sledgehammer of Bosco and give his team the very first kill. Not a lot of time burned on the clock either. So that was good. Very good from Excelerate.
Rampy looking for a kill upstairs here. He'll take a bit of damage in T3. Yeah, oh no, Schlongy again! He peeks in from the window. He finds a 2nd kill for himself in the round, and now Space Station have to watch every single angle. Is this like watching Empire playing? Beautiful play from Schlongy.
Big difference between the first round, or the first attack on Laundry Supply Room and this, was that there was almost nobody contesting T3. So Space Station were able to get in very, very fast. Oh no! Biologic retreating into the smokes. That is a big mistake. But as I was saying, because of the fact that Space Station were able to get into the tower so quickly, what ends up happening is you don't have Schlongy being very effective. But putting Biologic up top, Space Station is completely stalled out at this point. They have nothing to do at the moment. They have no idea what to do next. And both Schlongy and Bio are single-handedly keeping all 3 members of Excelerate on site safe. But Schlongy will finally get found, and that'll be the opening kill for Space.
Oh, Thomas! What a shot right to the face. Redeemer lost and Space Station find themselves in a rock and a hard place. No Baba Yaga to help you here. John Wick is gone. Taking Nate to peek around. Is there somebody to help? The flashbang comes in. Does not connect. 38 seconds on the clock. Haban trying to open an extra wall, an extra hole in the wall here. It allows them to contest it. Smoke pointing back here. Thomas Chief peeking. Impact grenade still in the hands, and he can throw it. Look at the amount of damage that's already been done to Chala. Could get easily pushed off, and because of the amount of damage And work that Schlongy did early on, it definitely is keeping the team back, but Thinking Nate will find one kill. Thomas though will refrag, the Allen will get shot down, but Thomas will peek again and find Thinking Nate at the end of the round. EXG changed things around, and what do? They use information to feed into Schlongy, and the aggressive plays win again.
Well, that's the thing though, that the amount of ways that that biologic actually contributed to that round will never be shown on a scoreboard, and they will never be something that people, when they reflect upon this match, unless they actually watch what happened, will not know to give all of that credit, or at least most of that credit, to biologic. He's the unsung hero of that round. He anchored himself on T3 with the deployable shield, a couple Guzmat mines, and what happens? Space Station don't have a Zofia. Their only pair of frag grenades gets cut down as he's trying to get to the top of the tower. Because there's nobody watching the multitude of ways that Schlongy can pick people off of rappel on the tower. So, yeah, Schlongy gets credited with those kills, and they were masterfully well done. He was accurate, and he took out two pretty big roles in the arsenal of Space Station Gaming. But at the end of the day, it was Biologic who kept them hanging there. And it was Biologic who did not allow access to that tower. And when finally Space Station said, to heck with this, maybe we should attack the site, they were already at that point so depleted on utility, there really wasn't a lot for them to do. And the remaining members of Excelerate, who did have such an advantage, just simply collapsed in on them and took the round.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Crusher,
Attackers' objective
at least
is to
here,
locate a
trying
bomb
to
and defuse it.
get some sort of early headways for Excelerate, as they did in the previous round, as you so eloquently described. See if SSG go for taking the armory first. Of course, this is a defense. The Dorm's bio actually is taking a lot of damage early on with just random sprays. Bosco is already in with the SMG-11 in hand to try to finish off the Lesion. That'll be a huge first kill. He's going to try to use a grenade. Advantage. Lobbed around the corner. He saw Bio running away, putting himself in a better position. And what's on the other side of the attic? It is your dear and lovely Schlongy. So the least low in health in the armory all on his own. Redeemer is going to try to lock him out. They know there's a player in the back. Schlongy, the attic, but Schlongy, he peeks out at the last second, moving around. Finds the kill on Redeemer, a huge kill early on here. The highly technical operator of the Capital. The head opened up and spotted by Bosco, but no damage done to Thomas.
It's unlucky, and Bosco just snaps on right afterwards. This is a great play off site here. Achieve just feeding intel, the Pulse pushing up so aggressively. Tomas credited with taking out Bio after Bio takes down Rampy, but Thinking Nate eliminated from Achieved means that this entry from Space Station will go nowhere. They'll be lost in space, at least for the time being. This is a massive advantage for Excelerate. 4v2 with a minute and a half to go. Now, it is possible if the two members of the attack can hold on to the two dorm sites rather, and lock out the remaining members of Excelerate. But that hinges upon Excelerate vacating the premise, which is not going to happen at all. Because of this, it's going to be very difficult for Space Station to recover here.
And on top of that, the fact that Schlongy is just going to stay in this position and fight to the death. He does have an ADS as well to set right next to him if he wants to deal with any grenades. Bio might be dead, but you hear the goo mine. Smoke's going to get thrown out as well in the back. And actually will not pop just yet. I'm not sure if it was destroyed. Not, there you go. It will get used. Just used on the side of the wall. And as the Jaeger egresses the tower here, this fire will pop right above him. Just rotate around.
Schlongy's managed to completely evade everybody. Crusher landing his shots as Achieved guns down Bosco as Bosco tries to push on in, and a bit of an anticlimactic and sudden end here. As Achieved actually could have gotten both of those. It was very swift. And Excelerate have bounced back now. Schlongy just narrowly slipped through the fingers of Space Station up an attic and scooted off. Bosco had a series of timing errors where he could have very convincingly been able to pick off Tomas early on. To be able to possibly pick off Schlongy inside of attic. And I think a part of that was Bosco lacking direction. That was SSG, from a comms perspective, in my mind, probably trying to right the ship after they had so quickly been rebuffed And really,
Defenders, protect your
we're not
bombs
even
from
able to
being
get
defused
inside
by
of the
attackers.
building. Anywho, because we just saw a successful laundry and dorms defense, it means that Excelerate will have to go somewhere else, either kitchen or tower. Well, they tried tower, or they tried kitchen once. It didn't work out, so they're going to go to back tower. They're going to go rear stage. And I don't know. The inability for Space Station to clear out the T3 with Biologic before, I would imagine, will probably set Excelerate Gaming up in very good
10 seconds to
position
go.
for this particular site.
Yep.
5
I mean,
seconds to go.
getting that third round on the board is so important for EXG. It at least guarantees them
recovered
a
the
tie at
bomb.
half, right?
Attackers must locate and
Tower
defuse
has
the
been a
bomb.
site that kind of teams have been forced to play into, which is why we haven't seen a ton of Oregon in play, just because you have two good sites and then two others that are kind of hit or miss, with a lot of missing.
I would say mostly miss.
Yes.
Like, most teams don't enjoy playing on kitchen, and most teams don't enjoy playing on tower. And because of that, when you have to play one of these sites, it's a headache. It's definitely a headache.
So that's why, yeah, you get 3 rounds on the board as the defense on Oregon, especially keeping in mind that both Mira and Maestro are banned in this situation. Pretty darn good deal, if I've seen one myself. And so that's definitely what Accelerate are trying to do. And what you need on tower more than any other set on this map or in general is just burn as much time as possible. Shlongy's going to be instrumental in that. In this situation, he's also playing the Legion, so he can actually use those goo mines as a bit of a trail of breadcrumbs behind him.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Holding meeting is an interesting play. A lot of teams will do it on tower. It's very, very imperative that you do hold on to meeting to a certain extent because, you know, that rear stage is just at the end of the meeting hall, and there's a doorway right next to it that leads from meeting hall into the tower that it's very easy for you to just sit down and plant it. And because of the way it's situated and the hard walls around it, and there's no destructibility above it, it's a very safe spot. It's almost a safe harbor for the attackers. So if you're going to hold meeting, you got to make sure that you have a path back. Because if you get caught in meeting, then you don't really have an ability to really help your teammate all that much. And SSG knows that meeting hall is going to be the very first and most important part of this
Bomb
push.
located by
Here's the thing,
attackers.
this is why having the hatches in meeting hall open, where you can just drop down and come back to fight, you know, live another day, is very important. This is why a lot of teams on the attack will also come in clear from the bottom floor once they have the advantage, because they know how important it is to have control over there, not just for meeting hall, but also the back stairs.
That's exactly where the back stairs will be Shlongy's play, actually. So he was originally up inside of the attic, and he was watching that mute jammer on the reinforced walls. He's fallen all the way back to those stairs. And Chief will start things off by taking down Bosco. It's unfortunate. Once again, the only set of frags for SSG will be felled and taken out. Chala takes some damage from above. That's a great position from Crusher to be all the way down into meeting hall and negate the advantage that attackers can have with that meeting hall control. Less than 30 seconds to go. And Excelerate Gaming, once again, in excellent position to hold off. Space Station are aligning over on the west side of the bottom floor,
15 seconds
just
to go.
patiently waiting for their execute. Tomas will pick up the smoke canister and look to go for a plan here as the defuse is getting set down, and that will be it. And unbelievable that SSG is able to walk away with this one. Shlongy there to put it on a 3v5 with an advantage that definitely favors Excelerate, but this is going to be very difficult to retake. So many ways that Space Station can just sit safely without worrying about a single member from Excelerate pressuring them. Not a lot of time that is left, though, as we hit the halfway mark on the diffuser. And now, this utility from Redeemer, he still has another asphyxiating bolt. Bio, amidst the fire, will push on out. And through the fire and the flames, he will die. Crusher and Shlongy are there, and it's a 1v1. There's not a lot of time. Shlongy will need to push this advantage, but Redeemer has the angle, and he does have the advantage of the clock. And it doesn't matter, even if Shlongy had successfully gotten that kill, the time was such that Space Station would have held on and taken the round. And SSG does a remarkable job, as I have no clue how they were able to get that diffuser down and walk on out unscathed, but they do it. And they regain the lead.
I can't believe it. Accelerate had such a good hold on everything. So much manpower, so much utility, all the setup. You saw the Jaeger even on T3 that has a long angle into meeting. And then where does the diffuser get planted? On the one side that you cannot reach. It's like trying to scratch your back. But you can't really reach that one spot, and that was the deal there. the doorway from the range into the tower. And that's really the one place you can't chuck any utility into. Your smoke is not really going to be able to deal with it if there's no information. And in that case, there was a gas canister, but it got picked up on the railing and then thrown so far away, even though Chala was low on health. However, if that one piece of utility had been thrown right next to Chala on the doorway instead of all the way in the back, the meeting, which is a consequence of the fact that there's no information on it, Chala would have been down and taken out, and there would have been no diffuser plant. And this is the thing with tower. We're often not, once there's a diffuser plant, the round is usually lost for the defense.
Yeah, it is exceedingly hard. It's very, Kidstorms has a similar pattern to it, where if you can hold control of Armory and White Stairs, there's a very high likelihood that you win. And that's the way it works. Unless the plant goes down in diffuser, or the plant goes down in generator. If the diffuser goes down in generator, then you have a fighting chance as the defense to be able to retake.
Oh.
I like what's going on here.
Hello.
15 seconds in, and so are Space Station. Rampy looking for his very first kill, but Crusher will swiftly shut that one down. But Tomas is finished off, and there's a plant. Hello? Knock, knock. Who's there?
Oh!
But Crusher will pick up his second kill. He's out here gunning kids down. He tries to go for Rampy, and oh, he'll pick up a third. Shotgun out, he has the diffuser down. Bosco is there, but Excelerate will shut the door. It was open for only a matter of seconds. But EXG, playing far back, wait for Space Station, and for the third map in a row, in the third match of the day, we have a 3-3 split through the first half. And I think Rampy just exited the attacking phase as an Ash main with 0 kills. Not great.
No, not going from someone dropping 22 kills on one game to this. Yeah, I really have to worry about Space Station's situation now because ties all the time is not going to be great. And going through this game so far, it is looking like a distinct possibility. It's not even a loss.
It's almost comical to think Rampy just did actually get a kill. I think he might have got a kill on that round in particular. I can't remember. He was 0-4-4 at one point, so now he's 1-5-5. So kudos, Rampy. It's almost comical to think that there's a very high likelihood that Space Station will finish the first half of the season
with all ties.
Well, I mean, they've already got 4 ties. The majority of their games have been ties. So what happens? You just continue to run that tally up? Obviously you want a victory. Obviously their fans want a victory. But we reference the Invitational a lot because I think it's looming in the background. It's probably first and foremost to a number of these teams' minds, especially the teams that will be competing. And I think that for a team such as Space Station, it's really demoralizing after the grind that you went through to achieve the success and results you had in Sweden at DreamHack Winter, and then turn around and the grind you went through to get the spot to go to the Invitational, to then kind of limp into the actual event itself.
Yep.
That's very tough. That's very tough to bounce back from. And in stark contrast to both EG and Reciprocity, who look to be going in quite hot, and Rogue might just be warming up as well, but we'll have to see about tomorrow's game as to whether or not that's true.
Yeah, and remember, EXG are not qualified for Invitation.
Correct.
They didn't play US Nationals. They did not play DreamHack Winter, which are all 3 events that, as this year, are going to be, well, I've already been at and will be at. You referenced the performance at DreamHack Winter. There's also excellent performance at Invitational, at US Nationals. We're not at Invitations yet, but still. We've been looking up to this team for quite a while, especially since the transfer with Bosco. And results have shown until we got to the online phase now in Pro League, and it's just heartbreaking, I have to say. And you're really hoping that this does not translate into a similar morale effect to the team itself. But see how they try to salvage things here on the defense. In this case, they're running a mutant plus, or a bandit plus a pulse on the bottom floor. Okay, fair enough.
Bandit is interesting, but I mean, Bandit gets brought every now and then just to hold down Meeting Hall. That's it. You bring the Bandit to hold down Meeting Hall, maybe hold down the pantry wall. There might be a mirror there. Obviously, there is Band, so that Bandit is just going to hold down a wall here.
And that's exactly what they're doing. There's one in the back zone, the backstairs. Shala will find one all the way from the back. Bandit's going to get cooked up by a Chief. Should be an ADS in the back. And no, it actually hits Thinking Nade. A pretty sweet grenade there from Achieved, as been seeing quite a few of those on his buck plays. At least ties things up. Losing the Thatcher, but Thatcher had already done his job.
Excelerate Gaming and Achieved in particular have quite a bit of history on this map over the last little while, especially in the match against Dark Zero, with Achieved being able to log all those grenades down. But there you hear an ADS, so the second frag grenade from Achieved will go nowhere. Clock is ticking on the attackers, and Excelerate Gaming getting the plant down, and will walk away with it. A successful plant down. All the while, nobody on SSG seems to understand what's happening. Rampy gun down, Chala tries to come in through the back tower. Bosco gets on top of the laundry hamper to try and do some damage on his own, and on top of that table will be his grave. As Redeemer gets one, but Tomas, ironically enough, playing Redeemer's main on attack in the Capitao, will catch him. And that will be a beautiful shot from Tomas, and Excelerate regains the lead. Or rather, it's actually Accelerate's first lead, my apologies, of the game.
I'd say they're putting the pedal to the metal.
They are indeed.
See if they can knock down Space Station here. Honestly, this is looking very well for Excelerate. I mean, we looked at things once Excelerate moved in from Challenger League into Pro League, right? Like, okay, there needs to be some changes on the squad. If you want to survive in Pro League, it's gonna, you know, it's a dog-eat-dog world in Pro League. You can't just mess things up and expect to survive throughout the whole season, especially if you're the underdog.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused
Well,
by
EXG, I think, has come out as a bit of a Cinderella story, at least so far in the season. It's a very surprising team that has done fairly well for themselves, actually putting themselves around the halfway point, which is a difficult thing to do if you're just coming into this format, basically. But keep in mind, there are former Pro League players on this team. They have the experience, but they were just never able to really hit the top of their stride, to say the least. And some of the old guard, as you mentioned, Bio and Achieve, for example, in the early days of Siege until now, they're performing fairly well. And I have to say, Schlongy's performance today as well has been very consistent, unlike the usual, and it's definitely been something that has been carrying Accelerate throughout the games, but also teamwork in general.
I think it's funny that you mentioned that former Pro League players. The only person on Excelerate that has any Pro League experience under their belt was Schlongy for just a couple games, though, before he got removed from Cloud9. And I think a lot of people were surprised when Excelerate made their entry in. Number one, I think they finished Challenger League in 4th, but then ended up winning the first overall spot in the playoffs, which is a very large feather in your cap. But then after they pick up, after they had Schlongy on that roster, I think a lot of people were anticipating, like every other Challenger League team that makes it into Pro League, a roster change or two. Pick up somebody who has Pro League experience, bring them in. Instead, EXG sat with the roster they had. And it might actually be the lowest amount of pros or former pros since World Best Gaming was the last team to qualify for all the way back when they were known as Core Impact for Season 6 at the end of Season 5, back in the summer of 2017. So interesting with the exact ratio here of pros for Accelerate. But they made it work, and adding Tomas to that roster has been a brilliant move. Whether it was his idea to say, hey, get me off the bench.
Yeah.
Not sure, but it was the right call.
Keep in mind, both Bio and Achieved have a ton of CL experience as well.
5 seasons, I think.
That's a lot, and it took them a long time to get in here. After a while in CL, you kind of end up scrimming quite a few Pro League games as well. You end up learning the ropes and things, and it does make sense, even if you weren't in Pro League itself. Definitely something to keep in mind for experience. And here, still see some bottom floor control in the kitchen for Space Station, or as Accelerate here, kind of taking their time, as they're not really able to find an opening to go through, even having the Habana, having the Thatcher, and operators that were clearly missing on teams like ENCE when we watched them attacking this very site at EU Pro League a few days ago.
I would imagine that Thinking Nade needs some credit for the mute jammers, just to be able to stop the few members of Space Station that are roaming. I believe it's Rampy downstairs in the kitchen, who is roaming right now as the Jaeger, who is literally sitting on top of 2 mute jammers that deny the ability to see Rampy. And he's been able to get across, but oh no, say goodbye to Thinking Nade, and Rampy pops up and drops Schlongy. But once again, while this happens, this fracas ensues and Excelerate walks away with yet another diffuser. Redeemer a bit too slow on the Yokai. So it will have to be a masterful pivot from SSG as Bosco starts things off. But we hit the halfway mark on this diffuser. This is going to be really tough as two bodies are thrown at Tomas. Crusher falls to Bosco and achieved up very, very close. He sees one of his own. Tomas is in excellent position, but there'll be a push from Rampy through small tower. This is going to be very difficult. Tomas is in such a strategic place. He'll dive back in as Rampy's position will alert Tomas to where he is. But don't be fooled. You just need to stick it. Rampy, great coverage. Oh my, a beautiful angle, and Bosco should have timed quite easily, in fact. Space Station will go back up. Rampy, what a play, even with yourself detected.
That is impact frag. No other way around it. That position in the Capitao is excellent. It's very difficult to deal with it, and you basically have to deal with someone playing far away from you on an elevated position. You know, Obi-Wan has the high ground, and it's just C-tapping where you can't actually hit them correctly more often than not. And Rampy hit it, made sure that he would get that kill, and that basically won the whole round. There's no way around it. Rampy with an excellent frag there to give Space Station the extra round and keep them in contention as they tie Accelerate and are trying as best as they can to not let the game slip away from their hands, as that's actually what they've been doing so far in every single one of their matches. It's just, can they actually reel it in instead of just making sure they still have a hold on that tightrope, basically.
This round's going to matter an awful lot to SSG, because if they win this laundry defense and they have to go to a site that will almost certainly benefit Accelerate, they'll have to either defend kitchen or they'll have to defend tower. Not the prospect that you want. So if Space Station wins this round but then loses the next, they end up in the same position that if they lose this round and then they win the next one, which they can go back to dorms in 2 more rounds.
5 seconds left.
That's not the greatest cycle. Dorms opens back up in round number 11.
Recovered their diffuser. Attackers are
so they will have
out
to go to
locate a
laundry
bomb
here and then a bad site and then back to dorms. And laundry would be available in their very final round. It's a tight rotation to have to go through. That of course is hinging on the fact that, well, Space Station wins this one, which is by no means certain.
Yep. Reload! See how this one goes. Achieved has entered into the showers, and EXG will have to deal with that kitchen yet again. Schlongy on the front lobby here, just trying to shut down the rotations or anybody moving into support going downstairs in the kitchen as everybody continues to drone and spot things around, and so far nothing really out of the ordinary. Again, there's no Maestro on Accelerate side because, or on Space Station side, because he is banned, and he's not going to be able to destroy those drones, which we talk about the drone economy at least once every single broadcast day, and we know how important those drones are. You just keep throwing them into your opponents, so you're going to have a bad time later on. But at least spot the bandit from Rampy and should be able to have an open wall, unless there's a bandit trick there to actually shut down. Yes, there you go. That's all X-Sky was shot down, and she took a bit of damage to the side of the wall. The grenade will connect, but not really do much at the other side. It's only serve to push the Legion away.
This is such a forward defense from Space Station. They are not playing passive at all. They're holding this meeting hall as if it was their last stand. So it will be very important for Accelerate to use the tools at their disposal to flush them out. But you can tell that EXG wants to save some of this utility usage. There's a reason why so many different operators on their side of things have not been using their gadgets. And that's because Accelerate doesn't want to have to needlessly throw it away, especially when they're going to need to transition at some point to that bottom floor.
Chief peeking into the meeting hall so far, though, but Rampy will actually find the entry onto Bio, taking down the Havana, but Havana's job had already been done. There's pretty much a fragging roll at that point, thinking they can find Achieved and Crusher, only with the refrag. So one player all the way in the back, actually, Schlongy can help in that gunfight. He'll have to deal with the stairs, but he has no information, and there's a player right above him. Is there a drone that's going to come in and help him? I sure hope so, because that angle is going to be very deadly for him if he tries to challenge it. Bottom up, and yes, Shala will connect. That's the big problem in that position. 4v2, Accelerate, low on manpower, and you see the yokai is being set by Redeemer. All up to Space Station now to try and win it. Crusher will find one with Chala on the refrag, rotating down from the back tower. It's all up to Thomas. This diffuser is far away, flashes everywhere, but no utility left. And even flashes himself just for good measure. Drops right through the hatch and instantly to the prying arms of Bosco, welcoming him to his sweet death. 5-4. Now, SSG in the lead.
Really well done. There's a yokai drone situated there. I think both yokai drones for Space Station were still up.
They were both there.
So you have a big problem if you're Accelerate. And the biggest problem was that reluctance to take control of meeting early on. And when I say reluctance to take control, I mean not necessarily that you would have been successful, but the fact that Space Station was playing so aggressively in meeting hall means that you had every opportunity to try to drive them out. And I'm actually been kind of impressed, but also kind of frustrated by the way that North America has been not really playing much utility so far today. We have seen a shockingly small amount of Zofia. I think easily on Zofia was the most that we've seen. There's been a shockingly little amount of Ying. Of course, she's banned in this match in particular, so in this match it doesn't really matter as much. Glaz has not seen a huge ton of play. Really, the biggest utility busting operator that has emerged today has been Capitao. And like I said, I really do think that there was a much better opportunity for Accelerate to use those frag grenades, to use your ash charges, to try and open up and force a fight against SSG inside a meeting hall. And by failing to do so, you basically ended up hurting yourself through the mid-round, into the late round, and then in the transition. Essentially, where as you saw, Accelerate funneled in through the bottom of the stairs and then dropped the hatch, and all of them were picked to pieces. Picked clean. So, but here we are on tower.
We'll have to try and defend it.
Yeah, that's what I said. They're gonna go to a site that they don't necessarily want to do, and tower will be the place to do it on. If they prevail, then they walk away with the round win, and then they can go back to dorms.
Yep. Just because of the way the rotation happens. And while Schlongy in the meantime in the Ash, trying to find maybe somebody over PvP. You see the meeting hall. Entirety of the back stage here has been opened up. At least there's one reinforcement. And the defense is set up downstairs for Redeemer to stay alive. Drones are going to get shot down to reduce the amount of information as little as possible, but nobody's still from Accelerate going in to the bottom floor to try and contest Redeemers. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. There is a player downstairs. I wonder if it's the Ash or Schlongy actually on that wall. No. Who is it? It's Crusher. All right, there you go. Should be able to drone out Redeemer. Now he's in the back. There's a lot of utility being dedicated. Achieved's going to prep his grenade from the back, but he will find the kill on Thinking Nate. Still the push in from Crusher. He's watching out for the yokai and Redeemer in general. He'll try to EMP the yokai and should be successful. There you go. That's yokai taken out.
Redeemer using his best ability to just try and hold off on this play, and there you go. He'll capitalize on the kill. Jumps upon Crusher after Thinking Nate had been felled not too much earlier by Accelerate. Tomas has taken quite a bit of damage as well. He's got a bit of bruising, given the Capitao is currently at around 50 HP. I also don't know if Chala has been droned out. He's playing inside an attic, holding the meeting hall angle all the way down. And he has not been droned out at all, and he will just gun down Achieved. And that will be it for Accelerate's meeting hall presence, at least for the time being. That's a very tough spot to find themselves in. I don't think they understand that Chala is still there. Bosco will jump in and take out Bio, but Schlongy finds one on a Redeemer as the Echo tries to come back to site. Smoke will go down in the middle of tower, and Chala is still in great position. The one thing that Space Station has not been doing very effectively, Gaston, is being able to watch the diffusers going down, and of course, it's going to happen yet again by Jove! What a play! Schlongi will be able to grab the diffuser down, but Rampy, a great vault out the window, and Bosco will shut everybody down with yet another kill. And that will be Space Station celebrating, as they will grab at least 1 point. Could we see yet another draw? Oh, we got 2 more rounds to figure that one out, but Space Station will at least walk away with 1 point, which seems to be the trend line for this team.
All right, now the hope is Space Station lock out a game. I think that's the big thing to take out of it. Now, look at their scoreline so far in terms of how many points they've been able to put up on the board throughout the season. Well, so far, they've only had 4. Now, Rogue were able to take a victory today, which put them on 7. And Space Station, if they take this one, they'll also have 7. Now, Space Station and Rogue are tied 6-6, which means technically they will be tied for that 4th and 5th place at the end of the day. But the difference at that point will be the amount of rounds won. So far, it will really depend. We'll have to see it at the end. But there will be a couple rounds change. Maybe Rogue will have 1 extra round
Attackers
on
need to
top,
locate and defuse as many bombs as they
they'll
can.
have the advantage. Because I believe if we go back to Rogue's match today, they won 7-5. Yeah. So technically, actually, if Space Station win now 7-4, they will be tied in like 3 different ways. So they might have won, but they still are tied in some way.
I mean, the biggest issue with Space Station is just not that they've been playing poorly. Their poor play is definitely, it's not that bad. It's just you play against teams that you should be winning. You should be beating those teams, and you don't beat those teams, and that's a problem. Right? It was very similar with Dark Zero through the second half of the last season. They had a number of matches where they tied or lost by 1 round to a team where they really shouldn't have. That's the issue. Can't be leaving these points on the table. Anywho, Space Station have 3 minutes to see if they're going to be able to put up their very first win on the board. And obviously for them and their fans, it'd be pretty cool for them. They have dorms upstairs to go to, which is unlocked. A very fortunate rotation, and also pretty remarkable that Tower went in Space Station's favor. A lot of it was negligence from Excelerate to be able to drone out all the spots near and around the sites, particularly Attic, which is where Chala was able to be and continue to exist. And because of that, they knew they didn't have any info on him. After a chief fell to Chala and Attic, they couldn't play in meeting because they didn't know if they had taken Chala out, and you're not going to commit a body in there when you might end up with them provoking a fight against you.
All right, Chief will open up the windows for him to try to play against. And you see the flash being thrown in here by Schlongi to burn out the ADSs. They will be successful in doing so. A drone has been thrown in as the flash will come in.
Bomb
Chala is
located by
still playing
attackers.
downstairs. He also has support from the Jaeger Rampy. There's a lot of extra players that can be put bodies down below. Smoke's gonna get thrown in. No grenade actually lobbed at Bosco, who's gonna stick close up here. Grenade's gonna get bounced around as Bosco will take damage, but not enough to finish him off. And actually, Chala does quite a bit on this side. Rampy though, take down Crusher. Pretty good clear there, but Thomas will follow up with another kill. Take down the Smoke.
This is an excellent read here. They knew that Rampy was in the vicinity of Tower, and the moment that Crusher went down, he relayed it to the team, and Excelerate got off those repels on kids' dorms' windows as fast as was humanly possible. And that's because they knew that Rampy would be coming for them. All the while, 2 members of SSG have fallen. As you mentioned, Bosco was the first one down. Chala will now also join his team in the Afterlife, or his teammate in the Afterlife, as Rampy's still playing inside a tower. That means that it's only Thinking Nade and Redeemer on site. That could pose a serious problem here for SSG if Excelerate can figure that out and begin to push. Redeemer does look like he has both of his yokai drones still up though, and that's obviously going to be a major benefit to these attackers. Or, well, defenders rather.
The Haban is going to try to come in, but Redeemer's ready, and the follow-up from Thinking Nade. The C4 will take him out. So, see the Echo peeking in from yellow.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
No, that's the wrong one! Thomas is going to get shot down. Thinking Nade Still in
15
control
seconds left.
of white stairs. Schlongy will try to peek in, but Rampy's coming in from below. Diffuser should get set here, but a potential retake. A lot of damage done to the Aster, shotgun in hand, and no, the buck is so far away. Already one down on the floor, and thinking nade will make it all work. Spacestation Gaming, for once now, will be able to put the W on the board, and that's 7-4. A beautiful bit of retake there. Solo play of
Defender mission successful.
Ute, and I have to say, finally, they've broken the curse, but on top of that, finally, we're going to see Space Station contesting in the real position they should be at, close to Rogue.
Still a lot of ground to make up, though. Not to be a downer, but still an awful lot of ground to make up for Space Station here on this season, especially with how good the top 3 teams have looked. Excelerate had a number of rounds that really could have gone either way, and this was, despite a loss, still a really good performance and a really strong showing from a team that has progressively made improvements over the last couple matches and definitely looks like one that could contend with a bit more time under their belt. Keep in mind, this is only 6 matches that Excelerate have played against top-tier opposition. That's an impressive feat. To be able to keep an even pace with them over the last little while and even be able to put up some very impressive victories. So with Space Station grabbing that win, I don't know if they'd be tied. I think they'd be tied with Rogue because from my understanding,
They would be tied.
Rogue and Space Station both had 4 points. Excelerate had 5 points, or 6 points, so they'll jump up to 7. We'll have the standings up for you after the interview so you can actually see it. But
as far as I see, it's like a -3 for Rogue. At the end, there will be 7-7.
Right.
Obviously, they tied last week, Rogue and Space Station, that is, the 6-6, which means they are tied on that.
There's no tiebreaker?
Yep. The tiebreaker, will come down to the second half of the season.
Yep.
It's -3 for Rogue in total, and because Space Station were able to win 7-5, that also should put them at or 7-4 at the end of the matchup there. It should actually put them at a -3 as well.
Yeah.
We'll have to check. This is just off the top of my head.
The information will be available for us.
Basically, they're going to be tied in most ways.
Yeah. And they've been both very even, but like I said, the original Titans of North America, well, there's some ground to make up for both of those teams. There's still 8 games left. You factor in the amount of points you can get, you can walk away with 24 points. That's still anybody's game. But for the very first time this season, we will say hello to our friends at Space Station Gaming for their debut interview. And it comes in...
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, Lycan. Nice to see you.
Yo, what's up, buddy?
It took 6 matches, but you finally got here. What got you over the hump from the ties that you had?
Yeah, I mean, when the season began, we were really focused on the invitationals. We did try for our matches too, but we wanted to make sure we had everything ready to go for that, and I think we just didn't prepare enough. And afterwards, I think it was kind of like one of those things where, well, we won the invitational, so we should beat Orglis again, and they played a really good game, so we ended up tying there too. I think the odds are against us to tie again, so hopefully we aren't tying anymore, so we'll see.
They say the ties that bind us, and you really take that literally. So looking at the invitational, it's a question that I somewhat asked Rogue as well. You came in, you had a hot run through. You almost had a couple matches where you lost it in the dying seconds because for whatever reason, there's been some struggles on your team side of things in the final 3 rounds of a match. How much does a victory now and the preparation that you've had over the season so far help guide you into Montreal in just a couple weeks?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Closing out games seems to be something that we're struggling with right now. So, I mean, I'm definitely working on the guys about way to change up your late round game so it's not mirroring what you did early in the match and stuff like that. So, hopefully that does help us. Doing it right now definitely helps moving into our game tomorrow and invitationals. So we're really excited.
What was your thought process behind the role swaps here? Now, it's been a while, actually, since we've seen Bosco reunited with that old reliable smoke role that he had. Is that just because you put Thinking Nade on the Mute because Mute's changes put him in a position very similar to Smoke? Or is that trying to trying to change things in hopes of breaking out of those ties that you were continuously sitting yourselves in?
Yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things. Definitely has to do with trying to mix it up to try to get the guys to wake up a little bit. I really did want to try Bosco on the Roam, and it did work really well in Sweden and USN and stuff like that. But he felt, honestly, we talked one-on-one, and he really did feel like he can dominate the map the most when he's playing smoke, and he can kind of control in general the defense. So I want to give him that chance because he's a great player, and when you have someone like him, you want him to do what he's comfortable with.
As a coach, your team has been pretty top-heavy in terms of frags. You know, I noted in the previous broadcast last week that both Bosco and Rampy were in the top 5 for most frags in North America, and Thinking Nade, Redeemer, and Chalo were in the top 3 of most deaths in North America. Now, a lot of that did have to deal with the fact that you have played almost every single round of every map that you've played so far. But today, we saw Chala and Redeemer taking a big step forward in terms of fragging potential, while Rampy actually fell off, and so did Bosco to a certain extent. Is this something that changes with the map? Is there a way for you as a coach to try and make it more of an even playing field? And any other additional insight you might have on that topic?
Yeah, a lot of people actually brought those stats to my attention, and I think there's something that people don't think all the way through. If you see your entry fraggers with a high kill number and low death, and your support players with a low kill number, high death, which means that what's actually happening is you're clearing through the map, you're going for an execute, and then your entry fraggers are cleaning up the rest of it. So it does look like your support players are doing nothing and your entry fraggers are doing everything, but that's basically because you're running an execute style attack. So it does look weird. It does look like it's only like certain people are doing stuff. It is kind of baity in a way, I guess you'd say. But I mean, that's just like a style of attack that works really well. You have your support players, once the map is completely controlled, go for the execute. Most likely your diffuser, the team will kill the guy who's planting when he plants. So your support player is going to get a death and never kill anyone. So that's kind of where you see those stats come from.
Right. I was more focused on the way that you had the team play around that today, because like I said, the contributions of Redeemer and Chala today were excellent, and they were playing predominantly support-based roles. Was that just, in your mind, is that just the way Oregon plays out?
Yes.
Because typically people die on the roam and then you have to worry about the anchors being able to hold everything together, or was that just more something that you were trying as a coach?
No, it's purely because Oregon's such a short map, and it's really hard to be able to set up stuff like that. I mean, really, you kind of have to throw your bodies at the other team to even get an execute down. So it's really just how the map works.
Perfect. So this is your first interview so far this season. It was really nice to see you again. I will see you in Montreal, as will we all, for Space Station's first, I guess, international LAN, which will be pretty exciting outside of DreamHack, a major point of pride for you and your team. Anything to say to the fans, etc., as we conclude the interview?
Thanks for everyone for sticking with us through all the ties. Very excited about Invitational and being there, and thanks for sticking with us through all our one-pointers. We finally get a three-pointer, so I'm excited.
Perfect. Shoot for 3, they say. Thank you very much, Lycan.
Thanks.
Thanks.